I'm fine.
I'm working on that too. I'm working on that too. All right. We are live. Hello everyone. I think this is our first guest on for July. So yay. Hello everyone. Dr. Levinton here. I'm excited as always to have conversations like this to help you live long and well. And today we're talking about how to eat like a normal person and still lose weight after 40. Yes, it is possible. No dieting, no detoxes. Heck, I want to hear this conversation myself. Okay, so I'm really excited to have again our guest, Miss Concita Thomas. She's a second timer here. I think we'll have her on many conversations on this live stream. But Concita, thank you so much for coming, Miss Concita. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us yet again today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right. So for those that didn't watch it the first time, they're like, okay, so tell us about yourself, who you are, and what you do, and maybe a story as to why you do the things that you do.
Awesome. Well, hello. I'm Concita Thomas. I am a sustainable weight loss and wellness coach, and I help women, primarily I help women over 40 lose weight and keep it off, usually those who have the 30 pounds or more to lose. And I also help organizations and companies create workforces. So that's something that I do is not so public, but that's a part of what I do as well. So why do I do what I do? It's really a story of personal pain turned into passion. So I, as an athletic, tried to study engineering, which was my first career. I quickly gained freshman 15, sophomore 15, I don't know, junior year may have been 10 or something because I was on a diet and tried to get it together. And
Tina,
so
we're not hearing you very well. We're breaking up pretty bad. It's hard to hear
oh
you.
no.
Okay. Now it was
Okay.
better for a second.
Is it better now?
Yes, it is. This is better now. Yes.
Okay. Okay. And so attempting to lose weight just meant that I gained 10 instead of 15. And we could talk more about that later, or you can watch the previous live. I got into that in a very detailed way. But when I finally cracked the code to lose weight, I was excited to help sweating for nothing in the gym, doing crazy things, trying to lose weight with a lack of understanding of how simple it really could be. And I have been doing so ever since.
Awesome. Well, I like what you do. But consider it says how to eat like a normal person, right? Um,
Yes.
what does that mean to eat like a normal person after 40? What does that mean? What does that mean?
What that means to me is to be able to eat with your family, to not have to have their food and your food, to be able to go to client dinners and networking events and not feel like you have to eat before you get there because they won't have your food when you get there. Be able to go to restaurants and not feel like you have to or be confined to the diners and to
Oh,
visit.
Christina, I can't hear you again. You sound like a robot. You sound like a robot. And I know what you're saying is really good. I want people to really hear what you're saying. Um, let's try logging out and then coming back in. Let's see if that would help. Yeah, because now I can't hear you.
I switched
Mhm.
networks. Did that fix it?
Okay, this is better. So you were saying,
Okay.
let's go ahead.
Okay. So to be able to go out of town, even visit other countries and not be frightened that you're going to mess up or just feel like I'm just going to, whatever the damage is, I'm going to erase it when I get home. And to be able to eat your culturally familiar foods and not feel like if it's not plain grilled chicken and steamed broccoli that you're off track. So all of that is what it means to me to be able to eat like a normal person. And I think I will say finally to be able to do that without also feeling like, okay, I can do all those things, but I have to stay really close to my phone and track everything. And if I don't have my food scale or my measuring cups, then I don't know how to do it. is to be able to do all the things I mentioned without over reliance on weighing, measuring, or tracking.
So you're saying this is possible. This is
Absolutely.
okay. This is possible. Okay,
And there are
that
those of us out there doing it every day. So it's not just a theory.
okay. So let's talk the how. So why do traditional diets and detoxes, why do they backfire, especially for women over 40? And then we're going to come back to we're going to talk about tricks of the trade. But why is it a challenge as you get, because we're talking over 40? Why is it
Mhm.
harder as we get older to maintain a or lose weight or maintain a healthier weight? Oh, did you hear me?
Well, the diets and the detoxes backfire primarily because they are way too different from how we normally eat or desire. Yes. Did you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Do we have a delay again?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason why the diets and the detoxes backfire is because they're too different from how we already eat or desire to eat. And because of that, they're not sustainable. And I'm always saying consistency before intensity. And when we endeavor to eat in a way that is not close to how we desire to eat, we're putting intensity in front of consistency, and we're actually sacrificing consistency on the altar of intensity. So it does not last. Furthermore, besides us not being able to be consistent enough for these approaches to not be sustainable, even for those of us that are extremely stubborn and we're like, I want what I want, and we suffer through it and we get to that weight, really, even when we succeed, and I can speak on this because I've done it, even when we succeed, we fail because all we've done is we've cemented the all or nothing approach. And
Mm.
when the diet is over, that was all. All we have left is nothing. And so the weight is coming back. And when we are over 40, you already know, we're losing muscle if we're not intentional about keeping it or building it. So then when we're losing weight, oftentimes we are losing muscle and fat. And when we gain it back, we're not gaining muscle accidentally. No one's gaining muscle by accident. That has to be very intentional. So what happens is over time, when we continue to do this again and again, even if we land at the same weight, which most of us don't, we end up with a higher body fat percentage, which just makes it harder and harder to lose weight the next time. So
Mm.
that is why, even if, I know it's tempting, it's beach season, we want what we want, we want to look how we want to look on that vacation. And sometimes we get caught off guard. It's 3 weeks and we feel like we don't have time for something sustainable. But it's not without a price. We can do a detox and get in that outfit, that dress, or that bathing suit, but it,
Mhm.
it comes with a tab, and the tab is due. The tab is due with tax and gratuity.
Wow, that is true. I've seen the yo-yoing of diets. I tend to tell my patients diets don't work because they're not sustainable. We got to find a new way of eating or a new habit or a new lifestyle when we're talking. So you said, eating like a normal person, means you can eat essentially anywhere. You can enjoy a good meal. So can you talk about hacks? Like, how is that possible? You go out to eat
Yes,
and you're trying to eat healthy. What are hacks? What are things to look for so that any meal is edible practically?
yes. The first thing you have to do, and this is the first thing that I teach my clients, it's the first pillar in what I call the power protocol for eating, and it's plan your plate. You need to understand what belongs on your plate in order for it to be a balanced meal. And part of that is also understanding which foods fall into which categories, right? I don't know how many people I've talked to who say, oh, yeah, I snack on nuts all day while I work because I know that's a great source of protein. And I'm thinking, well, it's primarily a fat. It has tons of calories. You can easily eat 1,000 calories of nuts without even feeling like it, right? So, and it's like, yeah, it's healthy, your heart healthy, but the pants are going to get tighter. So understanding what your plate should look like, understanding which foods truly are proteins, whether they be animal sources or vegetarian sources, making sure that you have some fiber on that plate, primarily from fruits and vegetables, but then secondarily from high fiber starches, things like sweet potatoes, and then understanding how to balance that out. So wherever you're eating, you don't have to order from the diet menu. If you try and get about half of your plate to be fruits and or vegetables, about a quarter of your plate to be protein, and depending on what type of protein it is, it may, and how the size of the plate, it may not need to be a quarter, and then the rest some starch and or fat, so that you're satisfied, not just belly full but still wanting to play peekaboo with the pantry. You can make that happen anywhere. You can go to Japanese hibachi and you can make that happen. You can go to an Italian restaurant. I just did that. I went to a place around here my daughter loves to go to, and you can make that happen. You can do that anywhere.
I like it. I like it. I like it. So it's just planning your plate. So let's talk high fiber. Can we talk examples? Like what is high fiber? You
Yeah.
had mentioned earlier. So people are like, oh yeah, bread is has a lot of fiber, whole grain, whole how you gonna get that fiber.
Yes. Yes. So fiber. So and you bring up a good point. So it can be hard to get high fiber because marketing is great. Marketing is real, and it's not necessarily just the high fiber bread, right? So um, like a sweet potato, you can get 5 grams of fiber from a sweet potato. And so let's just start with the big picture. You want to be getting about 25 grams of fiber a day. And if you are currently sitting on a no fiber intake, do not go from 0 to 25. That will be very uncomfortable. You want to work your way up, and you want to make sure that you're drinking water while you do that, so that you're eliminating well and without pain. So but sweet potatoes can give you 5 grams of fiber. An apple, a pear also can do so. You can get raspberries are very high in fiber as well. Surprisingly, avocado, which is well technically a fruit, but it's fat. You can get fiber from there. Lentils and beans are really really high in fiber. I like lentils because you can get do a half cup and easily get more than you would get in a whole apple. So that's what I mean when I say high fiber. And there are some breads out there that intentionally supplement the fiber. So you may find, like, I think a client showed me like a low carb tortilla. And that tortilla, it was a tiny tortilla, and there was like 10 grams of fiber in there. You can find foods like that, but traditionally, like a piece of bread can be as low as 0 grams. And I've seen some that even say multi-grain, and there's like 2 grams of fiber for one slice of bread. That's not necessarily high.
All right, true. And the truth is, when I tell a client a good way to look at it is whole grain is you got to see the whole grain usually. So if you don't see it, then there's something suspect about the bread. Um, so I have someone asking, so how is this advice
Mhm.
on plate work for the 85% who regain weight back? Obesity is multifaceted with insulin resistant, including fructose leading fiber. RDA is 38 grams. So, Dr. Wagner, good question. But the biggest thing here is us going back to whole foods. So even insulin resistance
Mhm.
responds to whole foods. The challenge is keeping whole foods as what we eat because we're used to fast food, quick food, tasty food. But you can actually make food tasty, but prioritize good food. All right. So we're not so insulin resistant responds very
Exactly.
well to good quality fiber. Yeah, I have a patient who actually A1C of 11 just with a freestyle libre
Ooh,
and changing foods and saying let's go for what's real, what's earthy, spice it up, use herbs, use healthy fats, the seasonings like you enjoy, put it on there. He came down A1C of 6.2, no medicine. So yeah, insulin resistance is real, but there are foods there are ways we can eat our way to better health. It's work. We live in Texas. The food here is not pro fiber, it's pro taste. It's pro
yeah.
taste, but there are ways around it. Like I said, that's why we're
Yes.
having this. conversation. You can make it work because we live here. We're not moving, right? We're not. We're here. So we can make it work. Tricks of the trade. That
Right.
plate does work, but she's talking about getting the right fiber. Not everything that says fiber is real fiber. And then the amount matters too. Okay. So very good question, but there's hope. Um, and we're talking consistency here. We're
Yes.
talking. This is something I can replicate everywhere I go.
Yeah, and I would add to that too. One of the things, exactly.
Oh, can you hear me?
Are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Are you there? I
I'm
can hear
here.
you. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
I can hear
good,
you.
good. Yes, yes. Awesome. Another thing too, that was a really good question, and I don't know. I, for those of us who have been in the game and trying to lose weight or around this space for a long time too, another thing that I mentioned to my clients is that there was a period of time where we were indoctrinated with the frequent feeding model, right? Like eating every couple hours to keep our metabolism up. And so, one of the things that I have found works tremendously well with my clients is not doing that and leaving plenty of space between meals. So I agree with the person. It's not, it's simple, but it's not easy, and it is nuanced for each person, but it works.
Yes, ma'am. But like you said, it's not easy, and there's systems we can put in place. So that's my next question. So how do you guide people to enjoy comfort foods without guilt or weight gain? For someone who's like, I'm a sweet tooth,
Yes,
you know,
strategy.
can you hear
Hello.
me? Yeah, I can hear you. Oh, there's a
Yes,
delay.
I hear you. I hear
Okay.
you. I would say strategy. It's simply strategy, 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 strategy. So I believe the last time we were together, I talked about the SSS method. And so that was where if you wanted to eat something that was sweet, you want to enjoy a dessert, etc., to maybe swap out the starch that you were going to have with your meal. Make sure you still have vegetables, you get your fiber, you get your protein, and then have a portion control amount of that sweet. So that's one strategy that my clients use. But I do realize that there are times when you're like, Concita, it's not with the meal. I'm talking about I had my meal and I went to an outing and there was something that I really wanted to enjoy and I want to be able to enjoy it. I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to have to just resist or just eat it and hope for the best. So, another strategy that I teach my clients, we call it discretionary intake. It's like discretionary income. Okay. So, you use your main intake to get your nutrient needs, your proteins, your fiber, your vitamins, your minerals, and you give yourself a daily budget. Just like discretionary intake, you don't have to spend it every day, but that is your upper limit for the day. And so for some of my clients, it's 300 calories. Some of them, depending upon where they're starting and how they were eating before we started, it may be as high as 400 or 500. And I know somebody is watching this and saying, but that is a whole meal, Concita. You're right. But if the person was doing 800, 900 calories a day before they came to me, guess what? 500 is an improvement. And what my clients have found is one, they do not feel restricted because they have an upper limit. They actually feel safe and held because the brakes are off. They can have anything within reason. And now reason has been defined specifically for them. And the second thing they find is they get so picky. I can't tell you how many clients have told me, oh, my coworker offered me this stale chocolate. And I was like, I have this many calories. I'm not wasting my calories on that because I've got banana pudding at home and I know exactly how much I can have. And it sounds funny, but that's what you want. You want to be discriminate about what you're putting in your body, but it's all about leveraging the strategy that makes that happen in a way that feels empowering, in a way
Mm,
that feels like, oh no, I don't even want that because I want this, as opposed to I can't have that. It's just like if
mm,
I told you not to think of a brown bear. In order to not think of it, you have to first think of it. You just thought of one in an attempt to not think of it. And it's the same thing with food. So when you give yourself a discretionary intake, oh, my clients, they get real picky. They get real particular about the indulgences they have, because now all of a sudden it goes from I can't have it to is it worth it? Is that what I want to spend on? And that's one of the strategies that I use that I have found to be very powerful. Even clients that do not count calories, they will have a DI budget, and they are very funny about that DI budget. Any and everything cannot come in when they have a DI budget because they
I
want to
love
spend wisely.
I like that. And that's one of the things I'm very particular about what I drink, like what I drink. Even telling my clients, I'm like, I'm not gonna waste my calories on the drink. There's not nah. If I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna enjoy something that's worth it, not drink my calories. And so careful with sweets in your drink. Anyway, what's a food prep hack, Concita, that saves time and supports weight goals? Are you willing
Ooh.
to share today?
Absolutely. One of my favorites is I call it meal prep light, because it's not traditional meal prep where you're in the kitchen for 7 hours and you're cooking all these individual Tupperware meals, but it's just batch cooking the items that usually you don't have when you need them. And for most of my clients, that's protein. So what that can look like is making a pot of lentils, which, by the way, we know it has protein, but that is a starch, a high fiber starch that also has protein. So let me clarify there. I don't want anyone coming for me in the comments. They will batch cook some chicken, they will batch cook some ground meat. And so now, especially for my clients who work from home, when they are ready, they have, 10 minutes between calls, they can grab some ground turkey, they can put that with potato or put that with some rice. They can open a bagged salad and they can throw together a meal that's healthy and nutritious and that tastes good and eat in between their calls in the pocket of time they have. And batch cooking some meat and maybe a high fiber starch like lentils, and having that I call it tear and eat veggies on hand, that saves you, especially if you work from home in midday or if you have a really busy family and evenings get a little hectic and you want to cook from home but you realize you didn't thaw any meat out at 6:30. It's a little bit too late. So pre-cooking the protein and a high fiber starch is hands down one of the best hacks that my clients and I use.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Now, how do you keep how do you encourage your clients to stay motivated even when the progress seems slow? I have clients come all the time. Yeah, doc. Oh, it didn't work. I'm like, and they're like, I lost 4 pounds in a month, and they're like, yeah, that's it. They feel discouraged. It feels slow or invincible, even though it's obvious they make progress. But how do you encourage them? How do you keep them stay
This is
motivated?
really hard. And this was something I had to learn over time. So, what I do now, the first thing I do is I make sure that they are clear on the pillars, like what has to be happening consistently at the same time in order to optimize the rate of change. So I call it the FIRES framework. So we talk about fueling, we talk about intentional indulgence, which we just talked about. We talk about rest, we talk about efficient exercise, and we talk about settling stress. So, especially over 40, all those things have to be working at the same time, which is why it can feel like you're chasing your tail. You think you're doing well, and then you scroll on Instagram and somebody tells you about cortisol. So you start doing things to try and lower that, and then you scroll and somebody says you should be getting this many steps, and you're like, well, what is it? What is the formula? I tell them the formula up front. These are the 5 things we're going to be working on. Unless when we start together, you already have a lot of them locked down. We're not going to flip a switch and start doing all 5 at once. That is guaranteed burnout. That is guaranteed sustained struggle instead of sustained weight loss. And depending upon the just the cognitive capacity, like the mental space you have, it may take us a few months to even get to the place where we have all 5 of these on board. So that's the first thing, setting the expectation up front. Many of my clients lose about 3 to 10 pounds a month. That's about average. Where people fall in that is going to depend on how many of these they already have going and how
Mm,
many more they need to put there. That's the first thing it depends on. The second thing is we get really real in the beginning and nearly every week about what consistency really looks like, because
Hmm.
it's very easy to patch together a really good eating week, a really good movement week, but the stress is crazy, right? Or I did really good on my DI, but oh, the protein wasn't on board and the steps were non existent. And it's really easy to string together 8 weeks of attempting, but not really having consistency. So we talk about the fact that consistency is whatever your plan is, even if you're not doing all five of the pillars yet, whatever your plan is, we need to be hitting those things at least 5 out of 7 days to even say it was a consistent week. And then we need to do that 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row to build momentum. The way we eat, the way we move, the way we recover, all of that, that's a message. That's a signal. If we wanted to personify our body, right? Betty Body, we are telling Betty Body what to do. She wants to know, am I dropping fat? Am I holding on to muscle? Am I building muscle? What am I doing? And the way we eat, move, and recover tells her what to do. But she's no fool. She's not going to get moving just because we said it once. She wants to make sure that the signal is loud and clear and consistent. And once she's certain that that's what's happening, she starts to move in that direction. But then if we spend a week and a half telling her something else, she's slowing down on that original command because she's trying to figure out what is going on. What exactly do you want me to do here? I'm going to just be still for a while and listen so that I'm sure I'm clear on the instruction. And then you may need to take a while to build up that consistency and that clarity of signal so that she starts moving in that direction again. So I help my clients understand what all is required, what consistency really looks like. And most times we are looking at, okay, we've got F, I, and R on lock. It's time to implement E. All right, oh, things were going well. They slowed down. Let's look at consistency again. Pull up the app. Let's look at it. Oh, it felt consistent, but let me send you a screenshot. This was 68%. Consistency is at least 71%. So we're not consistent yet. Nope, there's nothing wrong with our hormones or our
Woo!
metabolism. There's a whole lot wrong with our execution. Let's talk about why the execution. Let's talk about how we can make that easier. And it's not from a place of judgment. It's just from a place of helping people stop chasing their own tails, spending money on supplements that are not going to fix the root problem, which is the specificity. Do we have all five things going? The consistency. How often are we doing those things? And I have worked with clients who have thought their metabolism was broken. I have worked with clients, name all the reasons why someone thinks they can't lose weight. And
Hmm.
I've worked with clients who have any and all of that. And when we are able to dial in those things, they start moving forward. So I am convinced at this point that most of what we see is execution. Do we have things happening in our bodies that can make execution harder, that can be killing motivation, that could be making us feel lethargic? Absolutely. However,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, regardless of what we use, we're also going to have to bathe that in specificity and consistency in order to get optimal results.
True. There's no shortcut to that.
No,
Sadly, there's no
unfortunately.
there's no short. There's no shortcuts, but it's possible in the right environment, encouragement, having a coach, having a physician that helps support you. And that's what makes life actually easier. You have people supporting you in your journey to consistency in all the areas of life. No, Derek? Like, yeah,
Absolutely.
it's everything. Consistency. And so get you a
Absolutely.
yeah. So but this was really good. Even with the technical issues, we made it work. So consider I have someone who's watching who's like, okay, this is good consistency. I hear but w- one of the things they like that you said is that you don't have to count anything. They're not counting.
No,
Is that still possible if you're still tracking like how
no.
much is this, how much sugar is how many calories is this, how much of this can I eat? Is it possible to do lose weight without counting anything? Keep it real.
So it is possible. Here's what I'm going to say. It is possible. I've had majority of my clients do lose weight without counting anything. But there are some of my clients who do have a lot of other things happening. And so they have to get specific. Here's what I will say: the more you're relying on whole, real food, the easier it is. And you understand, that lentils are a carb and avocados and nuts are fat. The more you understand that and you're relying on whole, real food, the easier it is to lose weight without counting. And some of my clients will have to do like a brief stint of, I call it calibrating their eyeballs, right? Some of us grew up in households where a serving of rice was a half a plate. So if you're looking to get, 40 grams of carbs or something like that, you may not know what that looks like. So you may have to measure it out a couple times and calibrate your eyeballs, like recalibrate like what is normal. So some of my clients have to do that. But I will say, if you're eating out a lot, or if you're eating a lot of foods that are not whole foods, okay, you may find yourself in the boat where you need to count, because it's gonna be hard to overeat. If I sat down for dinner and I had some stewed carrots and lentils and some broiled Brussels sprouts and grilled chicken breast, even with seasonings, and it tastes really good, it's gonna be harder to overeat that, because the fiber and the protein, I'm gonna feel myself full. Even if the food tastes good, I'm gonna know that I've had enough calories, and the fullness factor is going to kick in. But if I sit down and I'm eating, I don't know, let me think, like a pasta and some meat, like I'll just say like maybe meatballs that are like partial meat, partial whatever else that I bought frozen, and I don't know what else they threw in there, and I don't have any vegetables on the plate, I'm going to be able to eat a lot more of that and not feel myself getting full than I would be of the other meal. So, is it possible? Absolutely. What's the hack? Eat more whole foods than processed foods. But if that's not possible, because I'm a strong believer in meeting people where they are, you do not have to go from the McDonald's drive through to, wild caught salmon and heirloom tomatoes and organic spinach all in one fell swoop. So, if you're listening to me talk about the whole foods and you're like, you don't understand, that's not my life. Okay, well, then we may need to do some counting, some tracking, some what I like to call caloric awareness, just so you have an idea, because you may not feel as full on that type of food, but you may have had enough calories to be done. So that's really the hack.
I like it. I like it. And I like how you said recalibrate your eyeballs. Because it does help with kind of
Yes.
really, really important. And if you're watching, I just want to encourage you. You can change. You can get better. You can be helped. Your goals are still possible. Sometimes it's just tweaking a few things here and there and staying consistent with those little tweaks. All right, consistent. So she talked about whole foods. She talked about good quality fiber. Even if it's just adding that to what you're doing right now, you're starting somewhere. But consider, for someone who's watching, who's like, I need a coach like her. I need a coach like her. Where can people find you? Consider, where can people find you?
Oh, yes. So the best place to find me is I'm at conceitathomas.com. So that's my website. But I'm Concita Thomas on social everywhere. So on Instagram, on Facebook, and I have a podcast. So every Wednesday and Sunday, digestible, I mean like 9 to 15 minutes, unless there's a guest, then it's about 30 minutes. Nuggets where I'm really breaking it down for you, showing you the way, showing you what's possible. In it, just real, transparent, honest, and hopefully encouraging and warm and sometimes funny way to help you see what's possible, um, to help you sniff out where people are leading you in circles for profitability so that you don't have to fall for that. So that's a great place to find me as well. And it's called the Lose Weight for Good for Women Over 40 podcast.
Lose weight for good for women. Sorry, man. Okay. Podcast. So I have
Mm-hmm.
that here, and I have the website as well. And someone is asking a question though. I didn't quite get the question. Jackie Terry, can you rephrase that? Out like out whole food. What does that mean? Do you? you mean what is whole foods, or you'd like whole food? What, if you could ask that question again, so I can ask our guests. But I've put the link to your Instagram. I've put the link to your website, and as well as your Facebook page. While I'm waiting for that question to be asked again, I really want to appreciate you for coming on, Consider again. This was very helpful. I love what you're doing, how you're empowering people to live their best lives. Thank you so much for coming. I'm honored. Oh, so her
Thank you for having me. I'm honored.
you're
And I
welcome. So
love everything you're doing as well.
thank you. Thank you. Now she's asking, what are you calling whole food? She says, what are you calling whole food? What does that mean? Consider, help us.
Okay. That's a great question. To me, whole food means that there were minimal steps between how it grew up or how it grew and your mouth. So here's an example. A potato was grown, and so if you bring it home and you wash it and you bake it, even if you cut it, whatever you do to it, and you eat it, I would consider that whole food. Now, if we compare that to boxed instant mashed potatoes, I can't even tell you how many steps went between the potato that came out of the ground and the substance that we put in our mouths. So I'm talking about minimal steps between how it grew and how you eat it. So meat, obviously, it was alive. It's not. It was processed, and by processed I mean cleaned, right? And all the things that they do so that we can eat the meat. Vegetables, same thing. So, and I don't make a distinction really between like fresh and frozen. But if you're frozen vegetables, and here's a key too, right? So if you think you bought frozen broccoli and you look at the back and it says that a cup is 120 calories, read the ingredients. Something else happened to that broccoli. So maybe there's some soybean oil and something else in there to give it a particular taste. I would not that that's not a whole food, but that might be something where you can eat more than you think you ate and not necessarily feel full as fast. So there's some extra calories. I call them backdoor bandits, right? Some extra calories and extra things that snuck in there without you necessarily knowing it or adding it intentionally. So not even avoiding that, but knowing that if you eat that, that wasn't the same as just frozen broccoli that you steamed or grilled or roasted. That's what I mean.
Whole foods, foods that look very much like the original from the soil. Okay. Is it more work? Yes. And when you go out to eat, look for the whole food. Sweet potatoes, grilled veggies. Those are real. Your brown rice. Okay. So fresh potatoes over the mashed potatoes, even though the fresh potatoes are grilled in butter. That's a whole different it's a whole different conversation. But whole foods, so more real foods, fresh, the better. That's why meal prepping is important. And Jackie, I'm glad that you got the question you got the question answered. But thank you so much. Oh, we're past time. It was so good seeing everyone again. Consider we're gonna have you come back again. This was awesome. And thank you for joining, even with the technical difficulty. By the way, it's raining where she's at, so the Wi-Fi was a little, but we made it through. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So I'm not sure why my phone is randomly playing. Okay. All right. Thank you all for watching. Have a good one. Sharing is caring. Please tag, subscribe, follow. And as always, if you're looking for an awesome, thorough family physician to have conversations like this to help you live long and well, I am she. Have a good one, everyone. Because need to hang on after so we can talk, okay?